Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, hear Joe, Ben, Lynn, and Turk's predictions for 2024. Happy New Year from everyone at Merschman Seeds.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben, Lynn, and Turk, and this is our prediction episode, where we give you all the insight of what's going to happen in the next year, which is 2024. And, we replayed last year's edition, and I'm telling you, I don't know why you guys are selling seed. I said you should go into consulting business because you pretty much hit a home run, grand slam, no doubt. Made a lot of money off your predictions personally, but you were very right. Just to head it off, to give you a reminder, Ben talked about and predicted that the new Merschman Power Core and List products are going to be step changes for both yield and disease tolerance, and we're going to have a lot of happy customers that previewed them, and I would say 100% accurate, 100% accurate. Lynn said high yields, and he said that could be the best year yet for high yields on some farmers' fields, 100% accurate. I predicted deflation, even though we were in the midst of huge inflation. I said fertilizer prices will be down, herbicides down, seed prices potentially down, and we're going to have everything back in balance. And so it was going to be a good year for farmers. And so I think that, where we're at today from a year ago, I would say that I hit that one. And Turk, how did you do on years?
Well, I said that because I wasn't here for the show last year, but I did right after the first year. But I said that you'd have the opportunity to sell corn for $6 and soybeans for $15. And on June 22nd, the high in the cash market on the nearby contract was $6.80, and on soybeans, the high on the cash market was $15.36 on February 22nd. So that opportunity, everybody had that opportunity to hit those numbers. Now, the problem was not a lot of people took advantage of it.
But it was there, right?
It was there.
Right.
It was there.
All right. Well, I think we should talk about interest rates, chemical prices, seed prices, the election, dicamba registration, yields, and fertilizer. Now, I'll start with fertilizer. I had a little interview with my brother Henry on the fertilizer side of the business, and he said, and he would guarantee this prediction to be 100% right. He said fertilizer prices are either going to stay flat, go up, or stay the same. Mm-hmm. Well, that's my brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were going to talk about fertilizer, not politics.
But he did say that he thought that fertilizer prices should remain relatively flat. In other words, maybe a little bit movement one way or the other, but no spikes, no extremes. So I did after I got him in a headlock, and he finally agreed to give me some type of prediction.
He said,
I give, yeah. So fertilizer, no reason for it to go tremendously higher, no reason for it to go tremendously lower, so relatively in the flat range. Anybody want to tackle interest rates?
Well, I know what my operating note looks like, and they're locking into variable rate interest because they think that we're going to be seeing some lower interest rates come up. They're talking 4 quarter-point drops over the next half a year, 3/4 of a year. Mm-hmm. So
prior to the election, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Fed chairman said at least 3, and then maybe for 24, and then 25, maybe another 4. That's what they said like a few weeks ago. Well, he's kind of got the control. So what you're saying, Ben, is when it comes to interest rates, go short term.
Yep. I've heard the same thing on some of the stuff I still follow. Outside of seed, it might be surprising that we have hobbies or passions outside of the seed business, but we do. Some real estate gurus were talking down in the state of Florida that they're advising their high net worth clients of, right now is a really good time to buy with higher interest rates, because what they're afraid is that the interest rates are going to lower. They see that on the horizon, so they'll look for the housing demand and the bright and sunny spots to go back up, because then the cost of money for them to borrow isn't as high. So they'll look for the housing prices to go up, and that tends to be an indicator of how well the interest rates are doing on mortgage loans and the demand for that.
In an election year, you usually see anything that you can that's going to stimulate more money in people's hands, and interest rates would do that. That's usually what we see.
Yeah, it's like a tax cut, literally. Yep. Well, how about chemical prices?
It's hard to believe it, but some of our sources have told us that we might not seen the bottom on some of these products right now. And then, as we look toward the peak buying season, I guess right now, as guys are putting in their prepay money, that just, it kind of seems hard to believe, but we're not there yet. But some stuff has stabilized. So, in talking with one of the suppliers, they're talking that Liberty prices are potentially finding that low, and looks to be a good opportunity to either add Liberty to your tank mix if you're in an Enlist One program, or having it on hand to come in as a rescue option if you are needing that particular mode of action.
Or increase your rates a little bit to get more effective kill. Yep. So this is the year to think about moving your rates up, because prices are pretty cheap.
Yeah. So my prediction when it comes to those chemical prices is that by spring we will have seen the low.
Correct.
Between now and spring, the low will have hit. And when I am prepaying chemical for next year, if I'm prepaying right now, that we're going to be paying higher price for chem.
Well, it's twofold in that regard too, because we hear the glyphosate plant and now BASF. There's rumors that they're not having any production, so.
There's always an accordion.
Correct. We're at a point where there's a lot of supply out there, but we can eat it up in a hurry, and then they're going to have to catch up. So it's just like any manufacturing. I don't think the ag side is any different, that there's always a run to the top, and then it kind of goes back down, and it's not a steady curve. It always seems to be just kind of a roller coaster ride, for lack of better terms.
Yeah, so in other words, what you're saying is take advantage of these low prices. At some point, the supply will contract, and then things will start moving back up, or you won't be able to get it, one of the two. And who's going to blink first? As long as nobody's buying, prices are going to be soft, but once the buying occurs, then supply is going to go away, and you could find out, the price of the chemicals is low, but I can't get the product because, the supply went away. So, some folks are saying that this glufosinate or Liberty price might be so low that you might want to overbuy a little bit this year and carry a little bit over. But that gets a little bit risky too, for various reasons. But no reason for things to get out of whack right now and take advantage of these chemical prices.
For sure. A good opportunity to have a very robust weed control program for this year.
I couldn't agree more. Everything that you guys have said, with soybean acres being up considerably this year, the demand for these products that we're talking about is going to increase as well. So I think by the end of January, we will have seen the low and prices will be moving up. Logistics are going to come into play.
Yep, it always does. You can only wait so long. What about seed prices? That's kind of what we're into.
Well, that's a good one. I think we'll see the price of corn probably go up again next year across the board. So there's quite a few companies that took a 8 to 15% hike this past year. I think it won't be as big of a hike next year, but I think you'll see a slight increase from a broad perspective, not Merschman Seeds necessarily. So I think the price of seed corn will go up a little bit next year when you're for the 25 sales season. And I think soybeans, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be flat.
I would agree. Our company right now is very focused on cost control, and we know from the Purdue study that used to be quality, service, price. They'd usually pick quality and service, but now farmers want all three. And seed companies that can't figure out how to deliver all three to these farmers, and average 6 companies call on every farmer for their seed. Very competitive industry that we're in. There's no way, unless we have some type of catastrophic crop failure of our seed crops, that for things to go up. And that has happened, and it does happen that where we get a drought or we get in a wet fall and it affects the quality, that prices could be affected. But I would agree, Ben, I think at least our perspective, we're going to try to stay as flat as we possibly can and create as much value with our product as we possibly can. I used to know a company in Fort Madison that made the wax paper wraps for McDonald's and for Burger King. You know, the little thing that they wrap the burger with, you don't even look at it and you throw it away. Well, you can't believe what goes into a wax paper wrap, how to get those logos exactly right, not cut off and all that stuff. And those buyers from McDonald's and Burger King would come into this company and say, either improve the quality or lower the price. I never forgot that. And I said, that's exactly what a farmer feels. They feel that you either got to improve the quality or you should lower your price, because of the fact that if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you should eventually create efficiencies that you should have a lower price. So that's the premise in the back of our mind, either improve the quality or lower the price. So if our price would go up, it's because we improve the quality in some fashion, either a seed treatment or a yield enhancement of something that's significant or something. But that's kind of our philosophy and how we do things.
I agree with Ben's sentiment, except the one caveat. I think from a competition standpoint, just some of the numbers that I hear get thrown around in the countryside, I think we've hit the low on soybeans, subjected to some of the things that Joe said as well with commodity prices. But I think on soybean prices, there's some potential numbers that are just thrown out there that I truly believe are below almost nearing the point of too far beyond the cost of goods and production costs that the companies they cannot maintain that mindset and that program that the piper will be coming to be paid, and we'll start to see stuff kind of gradually go up. And like what Joe said, we're going to do our best to maintain flat to a little bit lower. But I think some of the fun things that go on with our competition, you can only run that race for so long, and it has to be to a point where we won't see that anymore. So I look for soybeans to be a tick up across the board, across multiple companies.
I can see that.
Turk, do you have any comments on seed prices?
Well, I have to talk about my grain prices here in a little bit. And so I kind of agree with what everybody is saying, although I do think that it's going to be very dependent on that possible production problem that we may have, whether it be corn or soybeans. And right now it looks like weather is going to improve, and we're going to have good yields for next year.
Well, you always got to remember on the seed side, in order to lower costs, you've got to manage your inventory. In other words, you don't want to have too much, you don't want to have not enough. So seed companies in general are managing their inventories tighter and tighter, and that creates that problem. When we do have a problem, that's going to create those higher prices. It's because it doesn't do any good to have a whole bunch of seeds sitting in your cold storage building that you can't sell. So that's been going on as one way to cut costs and how to continue to compete in the environment we're in. So I know we are paying very close attention to our inventory, because inventory is what kills seed companies. That will put them out of business faster than anything is to have a whole bunch of seed that you can't sell, that you have huge costs in. So good comments about seed prices. Well, I'm going to go into, since we're talking a little bit about political, what about the election? What's your prediction on the election? Now, you can be specific to who's going to be our next president, or you can just say, which side of the fence is it going to be on? Democrat, Republican, what's going to happen?
I predict Donald J. Trump will be our president for the 2024 election.
Okay.
I think it'll be a very close election from the presidential side. What I predict as we look into even beyond the presidential election, I think we will kind of maintain that gridlock, I guess we'd say, that we have going on with the executive branch and some of the other things that are going on in Congress. That it's probably going to be the same old, no matter which party gets elected to the executive branch. That Congress will always have that checks and balance, and most likely nothing will get done in a big scheme, but it will probably be a very fun election process. I will say that. I think we have a lot of entertainment, for lack of better terms, coming up when it comes to that. But I feel like in both regards that it's going to be a very important election, both from the standpoint of the future of the United States, but also from a policy standpoint on changing of the guard, or if we're going to stay with the same administration that we have there. There's always change that's on the horizon that can be both good and bad.
I think everything going on in Washington, D.C. is obviously appears to be political on everything that's happening. I mean, it's not based on any good reasoning. I'm just going to predict that the Republicans will control all phases of government next year.
I remember years ago I sat in on a meeting where they talked about, basically we're talking about how dysfunctional our government is, And the guy says, our government's not dysfunctional. He said, look at the people. We're about 50-50, aren't we? Mm-hmm. What does Congress have? About 50-50. So the government is working exactly like the people want it to work. And I thought about that, and I felt better about our country because the fact that, we got half and half. No one side or the other has much say so. So we have to work together. And my prediction is it's always about the economy, stupid. You've heard that saying. And interest rates really hurt. It's like a huge tax on the working people. And the same thing with energy costs. When you go to the gas tank and, a $100 bill won't fill your vehicle, it hurts, it hurts. So I think that those are going to be the things that are going to determine this election. And right now, the wars that we're supporting are taking a huge drain on this country. We always have prosperity when we don't have wars. Now, there's a lot of money to be made on wars by people that own the companies that make the bullets and the bombs and the airplanes and the tanks and all that stuff. But in reality, it's not good for the working person or the average person. So I think we'll see a move to the right for the election if things are the same. And I do think Joe Biden's age is really going to hurt him. I think it's going to be a little bit like the Judge Ginsburg, the older lady that died basically on the bench. She could have stepped down where they could have tilted the court a little bit more even, and she didn't. And maybe Biden's doing the same thing. He's going to hang on, and he's probably going to cost him the election. I don't know. But anyhow, I think it's really important, whatever your views are, to vote and do your job. And so we have the people determine what the election is, and whatever it is, we accept it and we move on, whatever it is. But this fighting is not positive for our country. It's very bad, very negative. So I guess
feeling comfortable just talking politics at this table. Next subject.
Yeah, we better move on. I agree, Ben. So anyhow,
I thought it was handled like politicians.
Yeah, very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about yield.
Hey,
something we really care about.
Yep.
What kind of year are we going to have? Are we going to have a trend line yield, above trend line, below trend line? What do you think?
I don't want to ruin the marketing thunder, but it always amazes me every year when we look at different areas. When I was at ICM conference, I talked about it a couple episodes ago about how we're raising this really good crop off of no moisture. So I don't know how I predict against the American farmer and what they're capable of doing. So I'm going to predict trend line to slightly above on both corn and beans. I think part of that, to a shameless plug here again, just as last year, that with the genetics that are coming out that we're able to put our hands on from now the corn and the bean standpoint, the step changes we're seeing in the 2024 class that's coming up for both corn and beans. One of our genetic suppliers, our year over year was 2.5 bushels is what they're predicting. So, that's a real number that it's hard to ignore. So, short of actually losing a lot of farm ground to either urban sprawl or back into CRP, it's just kind of hard to ignore the fact that the genetic gain that we're gaining on these products, that if we're not trending upwards. It's a pretty bad weather event. That's what's going to knock our socks off. But besides that, I mean, I think it would be a wet weather event, I should say, or a very, very extreme drought. But otherwise, we're doing a really good job of managing our resources from a fertility standpoint, placing products, whether that be being very specific in your placement or very specific or variable, depending on which case in your populations. And we're real honing in on these specific varieties and hybrids and maximizing where we need to be at for a profitable year.
Correct. No, I'd have to echo everything that you're saying there. I'm going to say that with the industry's focus on Peking beans, if we have a dry year, higher nematode counts, everybody's talking about soybean cyst nematode more. There's going to be more of those Peking products that are out on the marketplace. I think that you're going to see some bushel advantages there on the soybean side, and Mother Nature's going to dictate what we get for corn. So,
above trend line yields, I agree, 100%. I don't look for, excuse me, I don't look for us to have a full out drought of any kind. Might have some dry weather scares, but we're going to have above trend line yields, and I think farmers will, again, because of that, will need to take advantage of marketing opportunities early.
Well, if you're a farmer, you're eternally optimistic, or you wouldn't be in this business. So I don't think any farmer plants a crop and doesn't expect that he's going to have a bad year. And let's take a look at what's going on right now. Right now, almost every farmer, at least I was talking to my brother Henry on the fertilizer side, he thinks 70% of the fertilizer is applied overall. And in certain areas, 95%. The tillage is ready. I mean, everything is set up for a fast planting season, which is another reason why you need to order your seed early and get it delivered as soon as you can, because you've got to be in a position to plant early, because everybody will basically tell you that normally the odds are that if you plant on time or you plant early, you're off to a good trend line yield or above trend line. So I agree with all of you that we are set up for above trend line yields because we got fertilizer on, we got tillage ready. Farmers right now are working in their shops, fine-tuning their planters, which is one of the most important piece of equipment that you have for placing that seed exactly right. So we're off to the races, and we just seem to be able to plant this crop faster and faster and faster. Because of that, we're getting higher and higher yields. So I'm in your camp. And again, I agree with Ben on the genetics. I mean, if you're not staying up, moving to the latest genetics, you could be leaving a little yield on the table. And again, it's hard sometimes to see 2 bushels, but it's there. It's there. So that's good. So anything else that we'd want to comment on as far as your predictions? Ben, do you have any additional predictions?
Well, it kind of goes back to that weather and the yields, what we were talking about. I want Alex to throw up the drought monitor here for our marketing area. I think the drought monitor is going to look completely different the last 3 years. When we've been looking at the drought monitor going into spring, we've had a fairly large portion of the country in that drought monitor, and we usually get a lot of reprieve in the months of March, early April, sometimes even during the winter. So I think that we will get back to a place of more normalcy when it comes to subsoil moisture, and that's what's going to boost us into these above trend line yields that you guys are talking about. So I look for a drought busting late winter, early spring.
I just have a couple, I guess, predictions on for Merschman's from a soybean standpoint that I think we're going to have a couple of the old dogs continue to hang really high in the sales and the yield standpoint. I look for the Apaches, Kennedys, and the Austins when I look across our portfolio to be very strong products for us in their placement and their yield. And to brand new products in that realm. The Cheyennes are just completely hard to not put on this list. The Lincolns and the Norfolk look to be very, very solid products for us as well. So I predict those 6 products are going to be staples on every farmer in our footprint, whether that's in your zone. I think you should take a good hard look at those specific products, and we'll be able to build a nice portfolio around that as well with some of our other products. But those are products that I look to be very successful in both a sales standpoint for our dealers and yield for our farmers.
Well, Turk, everybody's hanging on your words about where the market's going to be, and so they don't even have to farm; they just play the border trade.
I'm looking for some nervousness in the market early on, and I'm looking for corn to have. You'll have the opportunity to market corn at $5.70, and that'll be early in the second quarter or sometime in the second quarter. In other words, planting time. And I'm looking for soybeans again to basically have a high of about $13.90 sometime in February. So
man, he's getting specific this year. He's calling his shot, just like the old Bambino. I'm pointing at the stands.
Well, I think the nervousness is going to. We have increased demand for soybeans. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Some soybeans are going to help lead everything else, I do believe, and I think the nervousness in South America is going to definitely come into play.
So, could you be specific on what day that market is going to hit the high?
February 14th.
Close to Valentine's Day, yeah? Okay.
I'll let you know, because I'll sell probably $2 below that at some point.
Well, my prediction is, as far as inputs and everything, farmers are going to be fine and everything, but all the other expenses that we have, like repairs, parts, those things are just, you just buy a truck tire today and all that stuff. Those things are just crazy expensive. I know that when we look at what it costs to fix things, what it costs to repair things and everything, you're going to really have to pay attention to your other costs. I know the big things are putting the crop in, but it's all those other costs that are literally getting out of control. Whether you have to buy a new piece of machinery or you have to, anything in that area, anything other than inputs. So be very, very careful and watch those things and take care of what you have, because that's what we do around here, because it never goes down when it comes to those types of expenses, and they get out of control very quickly. So that's all I have to say, and that brings us to the corny jokes. And we always do New Year's jokes on the prediction show. So I just wanted you to know, I did a little evaluation of my New Year's resolutions, because that's common that everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Last year, I was able to keep all of my New Year's resolutions. Can you believe it? I tucked them away in a journal on my bookshelf. Mm-hmm. I still have them.
You still have
Okay, yep. Did you hear about the guy who started fixing breakfast at midnight on December 31st? He wanted to make a New Year's toast. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. This one here, some of you may be able to relate to, maybe not. A man who had too much to drink decides to walk home on New Year's Eve. A policeman stopped the man and asked where he was going. "I'm on my way to a lecture," the man replied. The cop scoffed. "Who gives lectures on New Year's Eve?" The man answered, "My wife."
Yeah, I can relate.
All right. One of the things, your significant other at midnight, you're supposed to give them a kiss. And that's a tradition. And why is the reason for the tradition? It's so you start the new year off right, okay? So I had another one. Lynn helped me out on this one. He collaborated on this one. Why should you stand on just your left foot during the New Year's Eve countdown? Why should you stand on just your left foot during the New Year's Eve countdown? So you start the new year on the right foot.
Yep.
So let's hope that's what everybody's going to do. They're going to start the new year on the right foot. And we want you to know that we sincerely appreciate the business that you blessed us with this past year. We're working very hard to earn your business in the coming year. We hope that your family is safe and healthy, and we'll see you next year.